Assalamu alaikum. How's everybody doing? Good?
Good.
Yeah. So I'm Ibrahim, or you can call me Ibrahim. And you're Kimberly.
Yes.
And you're Barb.
Yeah.
And Nicholas,
Yes.
right? Okay. So do you guys have like any like basic knowledge or whatsoever about Islam at all? Did you like study before?
A little bit, but
Yeah, you did? Okay. So this is what's gonna be. This is gonna be very basic, but at the same time, it's basic and profound. You see what I'm saying? I'm not gonna get in a lot of details because some of the details, in my opinion, it's not necessary. It's just more and more knowledge that's gonna make you more confused. But the basic is what counts, right? So there is Islam and there is Iman. So you want to write it with an E or an I, whatever works for you.
use black so it'll show up on the video. I don't have anything.
Huh? Oh, you don't have anything at all? So we'll begin with Islam, right? And what I'm gonna do is recite or share with you a hadith. Do you know what a hadith is?
A verse.
Huh?
A verse.
No, do you know what a hadith is? Okay. Alright, so hadith. This is a T and H. I know my handwriting is not good. So hadith, right? Hadith. So we have, and you know what Quran is, right? Quran. So there's Quran and there's hadith. Quran and hadith. Quran is what's in the Quran, and it is the revelation from Allah, from God, to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So all of that is Quran, correct? So there's the Prophet, the angel comes down, whose name is Jibreel or Gabriel, with verses of the Quran, and it was not revealed just at one shot, just like that. Here's the Quran. No, it was revealed over a course of 23 years. And some of the Quran was revealed because something happened, and then God revealed 2 verses, 3 verses, 5 verses, it depends, right? Until it was compiled at the very end, and it gave us the Quran, right? So it contains the very word of Allah. So the Prophet didn't have a say. He didn't say, well, I'm saying this, put it in the Quran. No, he's saying, I'm receiving this is the Quran, right? And in the beginning, he did not give the okay to his companions to even write it down. They were receiving it orally, right? So he would receive 2, 3 verses, and then it will be, this is how I'm giving it to you, orally, right? And you're gonna have to memorize it. And this is how so many memorize the Quran. And we have up to nowadays that some people, they have memorized the whole Quran. And some people are in the process of memorizing the whole Quran. Some people have a quarter of the Quran memorized. Some have half, some have a little bit. But we need that for Salat. When we do Salat, we need to read some Quran. So we have to memorize at least like some of the very short surah or chapters that contains verses. So that is the Quran. The Hadith, on the other hand, is what the Prophet says concerning a very specific situation or an information that he's given us, right? And so it is also part of the revelation. It's not the Quran. So it is being said according to the Prophet, right? But it's not something that he's just thinking it up and then said. For example, there is a hadith that will say to you and I from the Prophet that on the day of judgment, this is going to happen, right? So I have no idea what's going to happen in the day of judgment because I don't have that knowledge. But he received that knowledge from Allah, so he would say, well, this is, I'm telling you what's going to happen, right? And so that is considered a hadith. You see the difference now? Or is it still not clear? Very clear? Okay. And then there's another third thing that I'm not going to share with you now. But now you know hadith, and the Quran, right? So what I'm going to share with you now is a hadith, which is sometimes, again, the Prophet is sitting down. Somebody walks in and he asks a question about the deen, about religion, or about what's going to happen in the future, like a prophecy. And then the Prophet answers that man or that woman, right? And that becomes a hadith. So one time he was sitting down, the Prophet, and we say, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, meaning, may the peace and the blessing of Allah be upon him. And we say that not only for the Prophet Muhammad, but for all the prophets. When we mention Isa, who's Jesus, or Musa, who's Moses, or Abraham, who's Ibrahim, or Noah, who's Nuh, right? All of these, or many other prophets that are mentioned in the Quran, we always say, out of reverence and out of respect to them, that may the peace and the blessing of Allah be upon them all, right? So that's exactly what Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So one time he was sitting down with a group of his companions, right? And in the hadith it says, because, and by the way, the hadith also has a chain of narrators, right? Meaning, I have met Kimberly, who has heard from Barb, who has heard from Nicholas, right? And each has lived in a certain era, right? Or they were contemporary. I wasn't there, but you were there, and you told me this is what I heard from the Prophet. And I said, did you hear it like word by word? She said, yeah, I heard it word by word. This is exactly what he said, and she passed it on, right? And so we call that the chain of narrators. And that's why you will, when you read the hadith, you will hear on the authority of so-and-so, who said that I heard so-and-so, who said we were with the Prophet. And then it begins, right? So the one who narrates this one, his name is Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdullah, the son of Umar, right? He said, I heard from my father who was with the Prophet. Right? So now the main narrator here is his father, not him, because he wasn't there. He just heard it from his father. His father was right there, right? And so he said, now Umar, who is the father of Abdullah, said, while we were in the midst of the Prophet, we were sitting down, everybody was sitting down. While this was taking place, all of a sudden a man showed up out of nowhere. Then he continued to say that none of us knew who that man was. Now, they're sitting down in